Kuphina kuphi emakhaya emadolobheni asekomplasta khona lapho ubukela khona SABC1 sakumukele ke mbukele siphinde sikumukele futhi ehlelweni lakho lamhla ilungelo lakho it's your right silethela ke lihlelo lapho ke SABC1 eMzansi for sure mina ke ngisimpiwe Ngcongwane namhla ke sibhekene nenzaba mlonyeni bathengile abadibana nayo leyo ke yokudlelwa ke tindlu ngenzaba yokuthi ke bangemuva ekhokheleni levy fees kuma complex lebahlala kuwo. So at what stage can a body corporate attach your property for owing levies? Athini ke amalungelo akho kulelo hlangothi Vuyisela Mdoda kusilethela ke nayindzaba yemndeni waseJozi lobhekene ke nekudlelwa likhaya yibody corporate.
Sharon Williams akakholelwa ukuba indlu ayithenga ngo-1998 wayihlawula ayigqiba ngoku ayiseko phansi kwegama lakhe waphulukana nayo mhla yathengiswa kwifandisi i-auction ngolwasemzini. Amaxwebhu aphathelele ekuthengisweni kwayo athi kwinxa yetyala lokusilela ekubhataleni imali esisinyanzelo ngenyanga ilevy ngolwasemzini.
They auctioned the property. I don't know for what reason. They said we were outstanding with 5,000. And so these people, they auctioned the house for the 5,000. We've been running around to legal aid for 6 years. They've been doing nothing. Didn't help us, nothing. Every time when we go there, they've got a story.
Williams uthi indlela aphulukene ngayo nayo lendlu inonyawo lomfene. Akayiphiki into yokuba wayesemva ngemali ehlawulwa qho ngenyanga kodwa wazama ukukhawulelana nalo meko ngokufumana umntu wokuqesha apho. Uthi akayazi uba kutheni ibody corporate yaqhubekeka nokuthengiswa kwayo nangoku sekho abantu abahlawulayo.
We had some tenants in the house. And the house was empty for a year. That's when I moved back to my parents because my mother got ill. She got sick and I had to go and look after her. So the tenants were staying there. They did pay. Now they auctioned the house because they said we were still owing the bond. But we never owed the bond. The bond was paid up.
Omnye abantu bachaphazelekayo kwingxaki kaSharon Williams nguThenjiwe Mnguni. Yena wafika indlu kaWilliams isecicini lokuba ithengiswe. Uthi wazama ukunqanda ngokuthi aqeshe kuyo.
So mangithi ngiyorenda ngathola ama-summons ukuthi indlu yakhe izo-auction. Ngaqala ukudiga information ngoba ngiyawazi umthetho wama-property. Ngitrainiwe ngomthetho. So ngathi ngizobasiza ukuthi sibheke ukuthi yini into e-wrong. Ukuthi ingalungiseka kanjani lento. Masithi sakhulumisana nama-lawyer ne-managing agent bathi no bona abafuni ukukhuluma bafuna ukudlala endlu ngadonsa ama-document. So ngakhuluma no-Mr. Williams ukuthi Mr. Williams kunama-summons lana kufanele sibheke ukuthi ahamba kanjani lama-summons. Ngathi ngizobhadala ke i-5,000 every month ku-body corporate ukuthi sizame ukustopa lama-auction. Bala ilokhuzeni i-managing agent nama-trustees ukuze ayenze lento kufanele asebenze sibiza ukuthi ngama-foot soldiers, people from inside ukuthi basebenzisane naye ngoba yena nje maye ngaphandle akanama-power sowudinga abantu bangaphakathi kufanele asebenzisane nabantu bangaphakathi aba-involved ku-corruption hayi wonke ama-trustees labo aba-involved ku-corruption.
KwaMnguni uthi wazama ukuyihlangula lendlu ngokubhatala ngaphezu koko bekufuneka kodwa onke oko zange kwenze mahluko. Kusenzeka konke oku uthi akasenambane namanzi. Ngomthetho inkundla yamatyala kuphela inika umyalelo wokucinyelwa amanzi okanye umbane.
Ikhona i-court order ethi ugesi mawucinywe?
Abanayo. Laba abantu abasebenzi ngomthetho abana court order yokucima ugesi. Bayazenzela.
Ngoku Williams uthi ufuna indlu yakhe ibuyele kuye kuba uthi ibody corporate ayilandelanga mthetho izenzele. Ingabe ingxaki eqala ngemali yephansi iyakwazi uba neziphumo ezifikele ekuthengisweni kwendlu? Awuzibona kwimeko engenengene kwemali. Leliphi inyathelo elibalulekileyo kufuneka ulithathe khona ukuze uphephe isehlo esifana nesi? Vuyisela Mdoda, Yilungelo Lakho.
Sibonga lo mbiko kulijala likhulu lapha ke kuVuyisela Mdoda. Manje ukukhuluma kabanti ngale ndzaba kasesimukele ke Advocate Boyce Mkhize lovela ke Community Schemes Ombudsman Service sinaye ke sinaye ke Rudy Heshop yena ke uvela lapha ke singathi ke ungummeli specializing in debt collection. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Yeah, pleasure.
All right, great stuff. Rudy, I'm going to start with you. First of all, what's the financial duty of a body corporate?
Well, the thing is, if you consider the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act, the first power, the first function of a body corporate is to establish and maintain administrative fund and a reserve fund. So the money is the lifeline of any business. It is the same thing for a body corporate. So this is what the legislator said. The first thing that we need to establish is the money. What is the budget? Make sure that your members contribute, have a sufficient budget for the administrative fund and for the reserve fund. So that's the essential of the lifeblood of a body corporate is the funds.
But what does the law say then with regards to the body corporate attaching homes, because the homeowners owing levies? I mean, if you consider the insert that we've just seen, they were owing levies to the tune of 6,000 Rand and then they lost a home.
Look, I don't know the facts of the matter. I don't know all the facts.
But does a body corporate have the legal right to attach property?
Yes, this is where I want to go.
Okay.
So every member is obligated to contribute towards the administrative fund and the reserve fund of the scheme. The members, in fact, vote upon this budget. At the AGM, the budget is approved, and this is, like I said, the lifeblood of a scheme.
Yes.
At any stage, when you fall into arrears, the scheme has got a duty, in fact, the trustees, to ensure compliance with the rules and with the budget. So the scheme executive and or the managing agent, if so duly authorised, may then institute the necessary proceedings.
Okay.
Now, the question that you pose is, when can a property be attached? That's a different thing. So in certain matters we've had where judges and magistrates say you must first execute, and you can't just sell a property for about 5,000 Rand as per the insert. But we've also established that in certain instances where a property was sold for 10,000 Rand in arrears, it's a discretionary function of the court that can decide on whether or not the property to be sold. But it's also not that simple. You need to look at whether the property is a primary resident property or whether it's a secondary property. So if I have a holiday home, now I don't pay my levies. So why shouldn't the body corporate be entitled to sell my holiday luxury home for arrear levies of 10,000 Rand? And also what needs to be considered, and this is what people forget, albeit that we proceed with the collection of the matter in month 1 or when you're 10,000 in arrears, to get an execution order on a property is not a simple process. It is not a quick process. So from there till up until the date of judgment where we can actually auction off the property, that's a time period of about 2 years passing. So when we go to court, your arrears, albeit that we have judgment for 5,000 Rand or 10,000 Rand, at that stage, together with the interest and legal fees and so forth, that amount can easily be 100,000, 150,000, which the scheme is out of pocket.
But then who gives the body corporate the right to attach a home? I mean, can't they attach other assets such as a car or movable goods, furniture? Why? Why would they target a house?
Okay, so it's not that simple again. As I said, this is a process. For us to execute upon your property, we need to follow due process.
Yes.
One of the processes in the High Court is we need to obtain a nulla bono return of service. What that means is you don't have sufficient movable assets to actually pay towards the debt. So even after I've taken all your movable assets, there's still debt outstanding.
Yeah.
So for us as attorneys and for the body corporate, there's an obligation to first try and execute on your movables. And if we can't, then we can approach court for an attachment order. So it's not a simple process.
Right. Granted. Now, Mkhize Kabazela, let me also bring you into this conversation. What's your view from the position of the Ombudsman, with regards to who has the legal right to attach what property and what the financial duty is of a body corporate?
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. As the Community Schemes Ombuds Service, our role is to ensure what we call alternative dispute resolution. And that is to try and mediate problems and issues such as this one that we saw in the insert. And in doing so, we try and put together the parties so that they can try and resolve the problems and the disputes and the complaints or concerns that they may have with little formalities as is possible. And also without having to engage in very expensive expeditions, such as your hefty legal costs that are normally attendant to these processes. And it is the duty of the body corporate to ensure, and the Board of Trustees, in terms of the memorandum of incorporation of that particular body corporate or whatever founding documents of that particular entity, to actually manage the funds for the benefit of the scheme and for the benefit of all members. And part of that includes the responsibility to collect levies from everyone from whom it is due. Now, it does appear a bit anomalous for a debt as little as this one to actually have a situation where the entire house, which would be valued at much higher value than that, gets to be attached. One of the issues that we have been trying to inculcate in terms of the body corporates and the Board of Trustees and managing agents is this idea that they should always try and foster what we call social justice.
Yeah.
Social justice basically means that you need to be humane in your approach in terms of management. It simply means take into account the issues that may be affecting the other side and find the least adverse mechanisms to actually try and resolve the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, 5,000 rand with some repayment arrangements is really neither here nor there. It's something that could have been instituted, in my view. Obviously, we need to look into the facts of the matter, in totality, and see what exactly happened or transpired there.
I mean,
But
being deprived of a home and shelter is a basic human right violation. I mean, I'm going to pose the same question to you. Ukuthi-ke ngubani ke lo niketa-ke i-body corporate lungelo leku-attacha umuti instead of looking at other assets njengetimoto noma furniture or just about any other assets that the homeowners may own?
Yeah, well, I mean, the body corporate is vested with the authority in terms of the law. Now, so what then happens is that the body corporate becomes what we can call a creditor, okay? And the person that owes becomes a debtor. So any creditor in terms of the law is entitled to actually enforce processes that will give rise to them collecting what is due and owed to them. And they do so on behalf of the rest of the members of that particular scheme. So by law, they are entitled to do that. And by law, they are entitled to actually go ahead to actually do the claim. Rudy is correct. So once they can satisfy the court that there is nothing in terms of movable assets, etc., or loose assets that would actually satisfy the debt, they would then be entitled to go for something as extraordinary as attaching the property, so that they can satisfy the debt. So that authority vests in them in terms of the law, but also in the bigger scheme of things, every member that subscribes and signs up to live in the scheme subscribes to the rules of the body corporate, which rules must in fact also include the fact that the levies must be paid. Sometimes there's a normal levy, sometimes there's a special levy that is imposed. We get concerned where there are no engagement processes to ensure that the enforcement of those things in fact is informed by consensus and by democratic processes of decision making.
Right, that's a very valid point, and I want us to pick up on that point after the break. Wanyalo Gambugele asisibambe lapho sesishilela ngasetitolo. Please do join us after this break. Yilungelo Lakho.